Okay, so we have some information given. You're always going to have enough information given that you can solve for the remaining items. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's do current first. So current at the source, the battery here, is 12 amps. Okay, so if we remember our relationship, current is the same no matter where, and we can tell this is a series. So first, of course, you'd want to check to see what type of circuit this is. So if you follow along, there's only one pathway for the electrons to go on, right? So this definitely is a series circuit. So that means that the current is the same everywhere. So I1 is 12 amps. I2 is 12 amps and I3 is 12 amps, right? They're all the same. Now let's look at voltage. So the voltage of the source is missing, and we're told that V1 is 2, V2 is 6, and V3 is 2. So remember the relationship, voltage of the source is equal to all of the voltages of the loads added together. So 2 plus 6 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10, right? Again, we're missing the resistance at the source. Actually, we're also missing resistance here and here. We only have one resistance. So this one's a little bit of a weird one. How are we supposed to solve for things that we are missing multiples of, right? So we know the relationship is that R1 plus R2 plus R3 in this case should equal to RS. But this is missing, and this is missing. We only have this. That's not enough. But we have Ohm's law that we learned already. So remember that V is equal to I times R. So if you look at one section, so let's say for example, let's look at the number 1. So we have the voltage, we have the current, and we're missing the R. We can actually use Ohm's law, rearrange for R, and plug in the values to solve for R1 and to solve for R3. And then we can use the relationship to solve for RS. So a lot of the time when you're doing this, I'm just going to make some room here so we can solve for that. A lot of the times when you're doing this, you may have to incorporate Ohm's law when you are stuck. But as long as if you have 2 out of the 3 things, so remember it's voltage, current, and resistance. As long as if you have 2 out of the 3, you can always use Ohm's law to actually solve for the remaining variable. So let's do number 1. So R1 is equal to V1 over I1. So we have 2 volts. This is 12 amps. So 2 divided by 12 is 0.166, a bunch of sixes. Okay, so I would suggest when you are doing this, let's say, let's keep a general rule to do 2 decimal places. So when you're doing circuit diagram solvings, you're not following significant digits necessarily. Okay, and the reason why is because if you round things to significant digits here, your final answer when you go to do your source resistance will be 2 off. So for all of these like circuit diagrams that you're doing these short calculations for, do 2 decimal places. Okay, so my R1 here is 0.17 ohms, right? That's what we got for R1. We can do exactly the same thing actually for R3. Actually, to be honest, it's exactly the same calculation. The voltage is 2 volts and it's 12 amps. So the answer is going to be actually exactly the same, right? So now we have R1, R2, and R3. So we can solve for R total. So let's do that. Okay, so our total is going to be our 0.17 ohms plus 0.5 ohms plus 0.17 ohms. So 0.17 plus 0.5 plus 0.17, we have 0.84 ohms. That's our missing value here, or S, same thing. Okay, so you're using the relationships that we just learned today in conjunction with Ohm's law when you need to, okay? So always use the relationships like that we just talked about today, like these ones here. These ones should be your go-to. Ohm's law is coming into play when you realize you're missing too many things. Okay, so the next ones I'm going to have you pause the videos and try these out. So here we have current and voltage. So I want you to calculate the missing quantities. So pause the video and give this a try, and then we'll take these up. Okay, so first off the bat, your current should be pretty easy at this point, right? 1.5 amps, as long as if you have one, basically you have them all. And we're missing one of the volts, but we have the source volt and we have volt number 2. So remember, 12 volts is going to be V1 plus V2, which is 4.5. So to solve for V1, you should have realized that you have to basically figure out the difference. So 12 minus 4.5 is 7.5 volts for V1. Because 7.5 plus 1.5, oh sorry, I was reading that one. So 7.5 plus 4.5 gives us 12 volts. All right, try this next one. Pause the video. You're just solving for VS here. Okay, so for VS, we have all of the voltages for the 4 different loads here. So this is going to be 10 plus 35 plus 45 plus 20. So this is going to be 10 plus 35 plus 45 plus 20. This should be 110 volts. So remember, you're not doing significant digits when you are doing these circuit diagrams where you're missing values. Okay, your answers are going to be too off. Only when you're doing grasp problems. Okay. All right, here's your next one. Give this a try. Pause the video. You're looking for RS. Okay, so RS, same relationship as voltage. It's going to be R1 plus R2 all the way, right, to R4. So this is going to be 0.21 plus 0.18 plus 0.02 plus 0.52. Oops, should be a 2. Okay, so your total here should be, let me get my calculator out. 8 plus 0.02 plus 0.52. So this should be, your RS value is 0.93 ohms. Okay, and one more, oh sorry, I have 2 more for you to try. So here's another one. This should be relatively easy at this point. So you're looking for VS, pause the video. Okay, so for VS, you're adding up all of your voltages. So 12 plus 18 plus 20, this is 50 volts. And then for the last one, we have one value that is missing. I'll let you pause the video and give this a try. Okay, so we have the total voltage, right? So we know that that's going to be 80 volts plus whatever V2 was plus 60 volts. So to figure out V2, you have to subtract 80 and 60 from 240. which ends up being 100 volts. So 80 plus 100 plus 60 gives you 240. Okay, so remember, when in doubt, so none of these examples had the Ohm's law incorporated except for that first one that we went through together. So remember, if you are missing more than one value, as long as if you have 2 out of the 3 variables, you can always use Ohm's law. And that's series circuits.